The docking bay of the Horizon Ark hummed with the sound of machinery, metal plates clanging softly under the rhythm of the station's maintenance robots. The artificial sunlight that bathed the station's interior made everything look sharp and clean, but it also made the air feel thick and warm. Human technician Evan Carter wiped the sweat from his forehead and glanced at the large viewing window. Beyond it, the stars seemed still, distant, and silent, a peaceful scene that hid the tension within the station. Evan was used to working alone. He preferred it. But today his calm routine was about to be shattered. The docking bay's massive doors opened with a hiss, letting in a wave of air that smelled faintly of alien biology. A shuttle had just arrived from the nearby Selithari homeworld, bringing an unexpected visitor, an alien diplomat. The figure that stepped off the ramp was tall, graceful, and draped in layers of ceremonial garments that shimmered like liquid metal in the artificial sunlight. Her skin glowed faintly, a soft bioluminescence that seemed to pulse with her heartbeat. Valathine, as her badge read, paused for a moment, scanning her surroundings. Every step she took was precise, almost like a dance, but there was a slight wobble in her movement that caught Evan's attention. Something was wrong. The heat in the docking bay, usually tolerable for humans, seemed unbearable for her. She stopped near the edge of the ramp and raised her hands in what appeared to be a universal gesture for distress. Her voice, when it came, was clear but strained. "It is too hot. I cannot continue like this," she said, her accent lilting and musical. Her robes, Evan now noticed, were not ordinary clothing. They were thick, layered, and looked like they were designed for cold, high-pressure atmospheres. Every movement seemed to pull more heat into her body. Evan's heart sank. He had worked with alien diplomats before, but never had one appeared so clearly uncomfortable. Do you need assistance?" he asked, stepping closer, trying to sound calm. His voice sounded small in the enormous docking bay. Valadin's eyes widened slightly, and she nodded. "Yes, the layers. They trap heat. I require help to remove them. Carefully, please." Evan froze. The request was simple in words, but complicated in practice. The outer layers of her ceremonial robes were not just clothing. They were living garments, connected to her in ways humans could not fully understand. He had read about the Selithari ceremonial wear. The exomembranes functioned as environmental regulators, sensory enhancers, and even communication devices. Removing them incorrectly could harm her. He swallowed hard and nodded. "Okay, I'll help. Just guide me." Valathan took a deep breath, which made her bioluminescence flicker faintly, and she extended a hand toward him. Evan carefully held it, feeling the subtle warmth of her skin, and began examining the layers. Each fold of fabric, or rather each layer of biological membrane, was intricate and beautiful, like a living sculpture. He marveled at how alive it seemed, moving slightly as if sensing his touch. "Gently," she reminded him. "Do not tear. Do not stress the fibers. They are sensitive." Evan nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. One wrong move could cause more than embarrassment. It could endanger the diplomat. He started with the outermost layer, carefully loosening the connectors, which resembled metallic clasps, but were actually semi-organic. As he worked, Valathine's bioluminescence changed from a steady glow to a soft, rhythmic pulse. He realized it mirrored her rising comfort, or perhaps her stress level. He had to be precise. Minutes passed like hours. Sweat dripped from his brow, but he kept going, layer by layer. Valathane offered quiet guidance, correcting his technique without criticism. She seemed patient, even amused, as if she found the human's clumsiness endearing. Finally, the last layer was free. Valathane exhaled deeply, and the glow of her skin returned to a steady, calm light. She moved with more confidence now, her steps lighter. Evan stepped back, wiping his hands on his pants, and tried to hide how relieved he was. "Thank you," she said simply. But there was more than politeness in her tone. There was genuine gratitude, a recognition that he had helped her in a situation she could not have managed alone. It was a small victory, but to Evan, it felt monumental. Before he could say anything, the station's alarm system shrieked. Red lights flashed across the docking bay, and automated messages warned of environmental malfunctions in multiple sectors. Evan cursed under his breath. He had a feeling this was only the beginning. Valathine's expression shifted instantly from relief to concern. "That is unusual," she said. "The station's heat levels should not have reached this intensity. Something is wrong." Evan nodded. "Yeah, the main environmental control system is acting up. Could be a power surge, or maybe the maintenance bots went haywire." He rubbed his chin. "Either way, we better check it out." Valathine's bioluminescence pulsed faster now. "I can help. My species senses temperature and chemical changes. We can track the source together." Evan blinked. Humans had tools and sensors to detect problems. Aliens, apparently, had built-in biological advantages. He swallowed a bit of pride and said, "All right, let's find out what's causing this mess." The two of them moved through the station corridors. A curious pair, human and Selithari, both focused, yet completely different in appearance and style. The air grew warmer the deeper they went, and Evan began to notice faint, glowing spores clinging to the walls. He frowned. Valathene, what are those?" She leaned closer, her eyes scanning the glow. "Selithari spores. They are not dangerous on my planet, but in this environment, they react to heat. They multiply rapidly when temperatures rise. If they reach critical levels, they could disrupt the entire station." Evan's eyes widened. "So, we have a spore problem, and the station is basically a sauna. That's great." Valathan's tone was calm, almost scientific, but there was a hint of urgency. "We must act quickly. They are sensitive to temperature. We can neutralize them if we control the heat. But I cannot do this alone. Your species is adaptable. You may assist in ways I cannot." Evan felt a mix of pride and apprehension. Humans were adaptable, yes, but neutralizing alien spores in a station already over its thermal limit? That was more than his usual shift at the maintenance bay. They reached the vent that seemed to be the source of the glow. Evan opened his portable scanner, which beeped erratically at the spore readings. Valathene touched the vent cover, and her bioluminescence shifted colors, indicating concentration. "The spores are concentrated here," she said. "We must open the vent carefully and cool this area gradually." Evan nodded. "Got it. Step 1, vent cover. Step 2, cool air." He worked quickly, using his tools to lift the vent carefully while avoiding disturbing the spores too much. Valathene hovered nearby, her body glowing faintly as she monitored the environment. Every so often, she whispered instructions, subtle adjustments to temperature and humidity. Evan followed, impressed by her precision. The first challenge was over. The spores remained contained, but the station's heat was still high. Evan looked at Valathen, who seemed entirely unbothered by the warmth now, her training and physiology allowing her to function. He, on the other hand, was sweating through his uniform. "Your species is incredible," he said, panting. "You can work like this in whatever this is." Valathene tilted her head, a gesture Evan found surprisingly human. "Your species is extraordinary in a different way. You adapt quickly. You improvise. You make use of the tools available and even help others without hesitation. That is, remarkable." Evan chuckled, wiping his brow. "Thanks. I guess it's what we do." But inside, he felt proud. He realized he wasn't just helping an alien diplomat survive heat. He was part of something bigger. Humans, in ways subtle and powerful, could surprise even the most advanced alien species. As they finished securing the vent, a sudden alarm blared again. Red lights flashed across the corridor. Evan groaned. That's the main reactor. It's overheating, and, yeah, it's bad. Valathan's bioluminescence glowed sharply, the fastest it had pulsed yet. Then we must go, quickly. The spores will worsen if heat continues to rise, and the station itself is in danger. Evan nodded, swallowing hard. This was not a situation for casual technicians. This was an emergency. And somehow, he felt ready. Because he wasn't alone. He had a partner, one whose abilities complemented his own in ways he could only begin to understand. Together, human and Selithari, they ran toward the heart of the station, unaware of the challenges that awaited them. Yet in that moment, something was clear. Humanity's courage, adaptability, and quick thinking would make a difference in ways the galaxy had yet to witness. And for the first time in his life, Evan felt that humans might not just survive among the stars, they might impress the universe. The corridors of the Horizon Arc were no longer quiet. Red warning lights pulsed along the walls, painting the metallic surfaces in sharp, urgent hues. The hum of machinery had risen to a roar as alarms shrieked. The spore contamination in the vents, combined with the failing environmental controls, had created a rising heat wave that made each step heavier than the last. Evan Carter adjusted his tools and kept pace with Valathine, who moved gracefully despite the tension. Her glowing skin now shone with a steady blue-white light, signaling concentration rather than distress. "The main reactor," Valathine said, her voice calm but firm, "is reaching critical levels. If the temperature rises another 3 degrees, the cooling system may fail completely." Evan swallowed hard, feeling the weight of responsibility. "And that means," he began, but Valathine finished for him. "The station may fail," she said. "We cannot allow that." They turned a sharp corner into the reactor hall. The heat hit them immediately. Evan felt it pressing against his skin, thick and heavy. The metal floor beneath his boots seemed to radiate the warmth like a furnace. The spore contamination was visible here, glowing faintly along the walls and floor, almost like soft embers in a dying fire. Each spore pulsed and spread as the temperature climbed, a silent army multiplying faster than human eyes could track. Evan frowned. "Okay, so step 1. We need to cool this place. Step 2, contain the spores. Step 3, prevent a meltdown, right?" Valathane nodded. "Correct. And step 4, human adaptability will be crucial." She gave a small smile, almost teasing, though her focus never wavered. Evan's jaw tightened. Adaptability had been his strength before, but he had never faced a threat this alien. The glowing spores were beyond any human hazard he had studied, but he trusted Valathan's judgment. Together, they had already contained the vent earlier. If they could work in tandem, maybe, just maybe, they could save the station. "All right," Evan said, pulling out a portable cooling unit. "We'll start here. I can vent cool air, but I'll need you to sense where the heat is worst." Valathan extended her arms slightly, her fingertips brushing the air. Her glow shifted from calm blue to a pulsing purple. "This way. The spores are densest near the north conduit. Temperature gradients indicate that the core heat is spreading toward that area. Move quickly." Evan nodded and wheeled the cooling unit toward the north conduit. Its fan whirred loudly, blowing chilled air into the reactor hall. The spores near the vent began to dim slightly, their glow fading under the colder air. Evan let out a small sigh of relief. One step down. Now, the spores. Valathane moved closer, kneeling to touch the floor. Her glowing hands seemed to interact with the spores in a strange, invisible way. My species has a method to slow their reproduction temporarily, she explained. It requires exposure, but only in small bursts. You must assist me. Evan swallowed. He hadn't planned on touching glowing alien spores today. Small bursts, right? Got it. He extended his hands cautiously, trying to mirror her movements. The spores reacted immediately, pulsing in rhythm with her touch, then slowing as the temperature adjusted. For the first time, Evan realized humans had strengths that even advanced alien species could not replicate. His touch, combined with Valathine's guidance, created a subtle balance in the environment. The spores began to shrink and disperse, though only slightly. Still, it was progress. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the hall. The main reactor emitted a warning siren louder than any other in the station. Sparks danced along the metallic walls. Evan stumbled, catching himself on the railing. "The reactor's unstable! We're running out of time!" Valathine's glow intensified, her concentration absolute. "We must act faster. Your adaptability, your instinct to improvise, can save us here." Her words were calm, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of worry. Evan's mind raced. He could think logically, but the situation was too volatile for standard procedures. Then an idea struck him. "The cooling vents. What if we redirect some of the air from the other sections? It might lower the heat gradient quickly enough to stabilize the core." Valathane considered the suggestion, her fingers still hovering over the spores. "An unconventional method? Yes, it may work. Your species' flexibility is remarkable." Evan smiled faintly, though the sweat trickling down his face reminded him this was no time to celebrate. He ran to the control panel, overriding the automatic air systems to redirect airflow. Cool air began to sweep across the reactor hall, and the temperature dropped incrementally. The glowing spores dimmed further, responding to the change. But the challenge was far from over. The spore mass was resilient. It pulsed stronger in some areas, defying containment. Evan noticed a thick cluster near the reactor's core, glowing bright red with heat. He shook his head. "That's bad. That's really bad." Valathine moved closer, examining the core. "That section contains the densest spores. Conventional cooling will not affect them enough. They are resistant to normal temperature changes." Evan's pulse quickened. "Then what do we do?" Valathine's gaze shifted to him. "We use human adaptability." He blinked. "What? You mean me?" "Yes," she said simply. "Humans can withstand temperature variations that most species cannot. Your body can create microenvironments, tiny shifts in heat that influence the surrounding area. If you position yourself correctly, and I guide you, we can stabilize the core." Evan's heart pounded. He had read about human resilience, but this was real, dangerous, terrifying. But the thought of failing, of losing the station and everyone on it, was worse. "Okay," he said, determination settling over him. "Tell me what to do." Valathane nodded. "Stand near the core, as close as your body can handle. Synchronize your breathing with mine. Focus on the heat patterns. Together we will create a stable zone." Evan did as instructed, stepping carefully toward the reactor's edge. His body trembled under the heat, but he followed Valathane's glowing signals. He mimicked her breathing, slow and controlled. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the temperature began to stabilize. The glowing spores dimmed further, their pulses weakening. Hours, or at least it felt like hours, passed. Evan's muscles burned, sweat poured down his face, but he refused to step back. Valathane's glow remained steady, her presence anchoring him. Finally, the reactor's warning siren faded. The temperature stabilized just enough to prevent a meltdown, and the spores, sensing the shift, ceased rapid reproduction. Evan exhaled, slumping against the railing. We did it. I think we did it. Valathena's glow softened to a calm, pale blue. She placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. Yes, we succeeded. Your species, adaptability, courage, and willingness to act under pressure. It is truly exceptional. Evan chuckled, though fatigue tugged at him. Thanks. Couldn't have done it without you. You underestimate your species, Valathene said. Humans are remarkable, not just in physical adaptability, but in creativity and determination. You solve problems that others would take decades to overcome. Evan felt a strange warmth, not from the reactor, but from pride. Humans often thought of themselves as small players in the galaxy, but moments like this proved otherwise. He had just helped an alien species survive a crisis that could have destroyed an entire station. Maybe humanity really could impress the universe. Before they could rest, a faint vibration ran through the floor. Evan looked around. Did we really solve everything? Or is the station just catching its breath before the next problem? Valathene examined the structural readouts on her wrist device. We stabilized the core, and the spores have been contained. But the system is still vulnerable, repairs are needed, and the station's control network must be reinforced. Evan groaned, rubbing his temples. Of course, nothing ever stays simple. Valathene allowed a small smile. Simplicity is rare, but you, humans, thrive in these situations. That is why you are impressive. Evan laughed quietly. Impressive, huh? Never thought my survival skills would be considered intergalactic-level impressive. She tilted her head, amused. Perhaps not in your own eyes, but in mine, yes. For the first time since the docking bay, Evan felt a sense of camaraderie, not just with Valathene, but with the potential of humanity itself. The galaxy was vast and full of unknown challenges. But if humans could combine adaptability, creativity, and courage, maybe there was nothing they could not face. As they walked back toward the central control hub, Evan glanced at the now calm reactor. So, what's next? He asked. Valathene's glow shifted subtly. Next, we repair. We secure. And then, we ensure that no species, human or alien, underestimates the power of cooperation. Evan smiled. He knew the real work was only beginning, but for the first time, he felt ready to face whatever the galaxy would throw at him. And somewhere deep inside, he knew that humanity's story was only beginning, and it would be a story worth remembering. The Horizon Arc's central control hub buzzed with activity. Evan Carter's uniform was soaked with sweat, his hands still trembling slightly from the earlier heat crisis. Despite the exhaustion, he moved quickly, checking systems, rerouting power, and coordinating emergency repairs. Valathene floated beside him, her glowing skin pulsating softly as she monitored environmental readings. The station had stabilized, for now, but the danger was far from over. The spores are contained, Valathene said, her voice calm yet tinged with urgency. But the core's instability has left residual heat pockets. If we do not act, the spores may reactivate, or the system could fail entirely. Evan nodded. Got it. We finished this properly then. He glanced at the main reactor. The faint glow from the spores lingered, but it no longer pulsed wildly. We need a long-term solution, not just a quick fix. Valathene's bioluminescence shifted from pale blue to soft green, signaling thought. On my planet, we use a process called thermal harmonization to stabilize environments affected by spore blooms. It requires coordinated heat regulation, multiple participants, and precise timing. Evan raised an eyebrow. And humans can help? Yes, she said. Your species can create micro-environmental adjustments. Alone, a human is a small influence. Combined, your adaptability is extraordinary. You can achieve what my species would require hundreds of trained diplomats to perform." Evan felt a surge of pride. Humans had a reputation in the galaxy for resilience, but this was recognition in action. He glanced around the control hub, at the blinking monitors, the venting systems, and the exposed conduits. "Okay, I'm listening. What's the plan?" Valathini stepped forward. "We synchronize. I will guide your body's thermal output. You will position yourselves strategically to influence the heat distribution in the reactor and surrounding sections. We create a controlled cooling and warming pattern. The spores will be neutralized, and the station will stabilize permanently." Evan hesitated for a moment, then realized that hesitation could cost them. "All right, let's do this." She gave a small nod. "I will begin instructions. Follow closely." Over the next several minutes, Evan positioned himself according to her guidance. He adjusted his breathing, focused on controlling subtle temperature shifts in the air around him, and followed her lead. Vala then coordinated the movements of the station's automated systems, rerouting airflow, regulating coolant, and timing electrical pulses with precision. Evan felt the heat radiate around him, felt the invisible pull of the spores reacting to the adjustments. He focused, willing his body to work in harmony with the station, with Valathani, with the flow of energy around him. It was exhausting, physically and mentally, but he could sense progress. The spores' pulses slowed, their glowing dimmed, and the reactor's temperature began to stabilize steadily. "This is incredible," Evan panted. "I've never done anything like this before." Valathan's glow brightened. "Nor have I observed any species perform this efficiently. Humans, you are remarkable, adaptable, intuitive. You improvise while maintaining focus. That is rare in the galaxy." Evan smiled through his fatigue. "I think you're overestimating me." "Not at all," she said. Her voice was soft but firm. "I observe your results. That is all that matters." Finally, after what felt like hours, the spore pulses nearly ceased. The main reactor reached a stable temperature, its systems humming calmly rather than screaming in alarm. Evan slumped against the control console, exhausted but triumphant. Valathine floated beside him, her glow gentle, steady, and approving. "It is done," she said simply. "The station is secure. The spores are neutralized. You, humans, have saved not only this station, but potentially the lives of countless species aboard future stations." Evan felt a warmth that went beyond physical relief. He had always known humans were adaptable, resilient, and clever, but seeing it recognized by an alien species of advanced intelligence was something else entirely. We didn't do it alone," he said. "You guided us." Valathine's bioluminescence flickered in amusement. "Guidance only goes so far. The action, the decisions, the quick thinking, those were yours. My species could not have acted as swiftly. Your species' creativity is astounding." Evan chuckled softly. "Guess humans are better than we thought." "Yes," she said, "better than many species believe. Perhaps the galaxy has underestimated you for too long." The two stood in silence for a moment, listening to the calm hum of the horizon arc. Outside, stars glimmered through the observation windows, distant and silent, a stark contrast to the controlled chaos they had just survived. Suddenly, a signal arrived on Valathine's communication device. She opened it and listened briefly. "The Galactic Council has received our report. They are impressed." Her glow shifted to a soft gold, signaling excitement. "They wish to meet with the human crew responsible for this action. They wish to learn more about your species' capabilities." Evan's jaw dropped. "Wait. They want to meet me? Me?" "Yes," Valathine said. Your actions have demonstrated that humans may hold a unique advantage among galactic civilizations. They wish to understand and observe. You will represent humanity." Evan blinked. "Wow, okay. I guess I'll need a good shower first." Valathine allowed a small, amused flicker in her glow. "You may. But prepare yourself. This is significant. Humanity's reputation is about to spread further than you imagined." Over the next hours, Evan worked with Valathine to stabilize every section of the Horizon Arc. They repaired damaged conduits, reinforced environmental controls, and ensured the spores were permanently neutralized. Each step required careful collaboration, a combination of human ingenuity and scifistory precision. The work was tiring, but every repair felt like another proof of humanity's capabilities. Finally, with the station fully stabilized, Evan allowed himself to sit back in the central control hub. "I can't believe it," he muttered. "We actually saved the station, and the spores are gone. No meltdown. Everything worked." Valathine floated beside him, her glow calm and approving. "It worked because of you. Your species' combination of creativity, adaptability, and courage. It is unparalleled. Others may have knowledge, but humans act decisively. That is why the Galactic Council will pay attention." Evan leaned back, finally allowing himself to breathe. "I guess humans really can surprise the galaxy." "Yes," Valathine said. "And now they will know." Word of the Horizon Arc's crisis spread quickly through the interstellar communication network. By the time Evan had showered and rested, messages from multiple species had arrived. The Galactic Council formally recognized his and the station crew's actions, citing humanity's unique problem-solving abilities as an example of interspecies excellence. Scholars, diplomats, and explorers took notice, and reports highlighted how humans could adapt and improvise under extreme circumstances, capabilities that even advanced civilizations respected. Evan felt a mix of pride and humility. He had never imagined that fixing a station's overheating reactor could have galaxy-wide implications. And yet, here he was, proof that humans were more than just resilient. They were exceptional. Valathine approached him with a soft glow. "You see now why the Council wishes to observe your species. Humans possess qualities rare in the galaxy: courage, adaptability, empathy. These are strengths that complement technology and knowledge. You may not realize it, but your species has the potential to shape the future." Evan nodded slowly. "I think I understand, and I guess we'll just have to keep proving it." "Yes," she said. "And now, the galaxy will watch." Evan gazed out through the observation window, where distant stars glittered like scattered gems. Somewhere out there, alien species would be thinking of humans differently, respecting their ingenuity, their quick thinking, and their courage. For a moment, he felt the weight of the responsibility, and then a thrill of hope. Humanity was no longer just a small species on a distant planet. They had the potential to make a difference across the stars. The Horizon Arc had survived, thanks to humans and their alien allies. But more importantly, humans had demonstrated a truth that the galaxy could no longer ignore. When faced with impossible odds, humanity could rise, adapt, and prevail. Evan Carter smiled. The journey was only beginning, and the universe was finally noticing.